Hey, I'm Candace, your host, and if you're ready to grow your business and build your authority by getting booked on podcasts, I've got something special for you. I'm launching a brand new course that will walk you through exactly how to get booked on podcasts. Everything from identifying the right shows to pitching, preparing for interviews, and leveraging your guest appearances for growth. Plus, if you sign up for the waitlist now, you'll get early access to the course and these special bonuses. When you officially enroll in the course, you'll save $50 and get a free one-on-one strategy call with me to help you prep your speaking points and align your offers. These bonuses are limited and end on April 13th, so make sure to sign up today. Head to the link in the show notes to join and get started on your podcast guesting journey. I can't wait to help you get booked and start sharing your message with the world. Now let's dive into today's episode. Okay, having a guest on your podcast can be a really great idea, but there are a few things that I wish I knew in the beginning when I was first getting started. I'm going to go through all of the nitty-gritty details that I take into consideration when having guests on my show. First off, let's talk about how do you even get guests for your show. First thing you can do is really just invite people that you like, that you align with, and who can really fill in a gap on your show or speak about a topic that you aren't planning to speak about yourself in a solo episode. Think about who is your audience? Who is your podcast for? What is the topic of your podcast? And really think about what your audience would find valuable. What expertise, stories, and inspiration would they benefit from? Really use that to help you guide the people that you're going to invite onto your show. You can just send them a DM. You can send them an email. Maybe it's people that you've followed on social media for a long time. Don't be afraid to shoot your shot with some of those people that you would consider like a dream guest that maybe is a stretch and you're thinking, who am I to invite someone like that onto my little podcast show, right? Shoot your shot. The worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to ghost you or maybe tell you, no, they don't have time for that. The best thing that could happen is they say yes and they end up on your show and you get to meet them and talk to them and pick their brain. How cool would that be? You can also post on social media that you're looking for guests, but I will caution you so that you don't get bombarded. Be very specific about who and what topics you're looking for, that you don't just get any and everyone saying, pick me. Get specific. Are you looking for entrepreneurs? Are you looking for someone to talk about specific topics? Are you looking for people of certain age brackets, certain income? You get to decide. You're the host. Podcast guesting swaps work really well too. So you can utilize your podcast to swap a spot and basically swap audiences and get to share on their podcast and vice versa. All right, now let's talk about preparing for your guest. Here are some very basic things, but as soon as you start having guests and having more than one of them, you'll wish you had these things in place. So I always start with sending them a short form. I don't like it to be very long. Some people's are very lengthy. Basically, what I think is a must-have in there is a spot for them to drop a short bio about themselves, any links that they want mentioned in the show notes, whether that's free resource they want to highlight, links to their social media, links to websites, podcasts, things like that. And I also like to have a box that asks them if there's any specific questions they want to be asked. Sometimes that leads to a really great conversation. You'll also want to get most likely a headshot picture of them to use for graphics and social media. I also send them a calendar link. I just use the free version of Calendly so that they can easily book their spot and we don't have to go back and forth in the DMs or on email trying to find a time that works. That really will clean up that process of onboarding a new guest. I didn't at the beginning, but at this point I do have a Google Sheet that I made to track and keep track of everything, of where I'm at with each guest, what things do I still need to get from them, have I recorded the episode, is it scheduled, what day is it going out on, things like that. The other piece of preparing for them is to really find out about them. And I like to do this closer to the actual day that I'm recording. If I'm recording in the afternoon with them, maybe I'm going to do this in the morning or the night before. But if you haven't yet, really check out their social media, their website, listen to a quick bit of their podcast if they have one. This is really going to help you facilitate the best, most energetic and authentic conversation, just having a little bit of knowledge about them and their message and the things that they do. I also have a list of prep questions that I keep. This just helps me stay on track and keep a pacing. I like to have a little bit shorter episodes. I don't like things to get too long. So some shows I'm on, they go a full hour. Mine are more like 30 to 20 minutes. And so to keep pace of that, I like to have questions prepped, but definitely trust your gut during the recording to go down an unscripted road if it happens. That kind of is where the magic lies. So don't be afraid to do that. Things that you might have in this sample list of questions just to keep you on track. Think about things that you want to ask every guest. definitely at the end, you want to let them tell where people can find them. You want to let them highlight any free resource or things like that they have going on right now. You might have a specific question or themed question that you ask all of your guests. You want to make sure you have those down in your list so that you don't miss those. You get all the questions that you wanted them to answer asked. Communicating with your guests is a big deal. There's some things that I do before recording. One is making sure there's just like clear expectations beforehand. They should know that if they are going to guest on your show, part of that is them sharing the episode once it drops with their social media. I don't require people to share things with their email list because I don't want to make this like a big hoop to jump through. If they loved being on the show, I hope that they do share in those situations. But as long as they're sharing things on their social media, their stories, stuff like that, that's great. Little bits of things to let people know as well are, is your podcast audio and video? People like to know ahead of time if they should be coming looking really nice or if they can just hop on in their PJs. For mine, I just use the audio and people know that they can come on as they are. I also want to make sure that they know that my episodes are no more than 20 to 30 minutes. That way, when they're giving their answers and things, they kind of know ahead of time that we're not going to be having like 6-7 minute long tangents and spiels. It just helps keep everybody on the same page and the episode really moving along. I also let them know that I edit. So on my show, I do edit. So then they're allowed to say, whoops, can I redo that? They can say it as we're recording. Can I redo that and re-say that? Can we cut that out? Not everyone does that. So it's good to communicate that ahead of time just so the guest doesn't just stop and derail or something like that. After the recording, definitely communicate with your guests the date that your episode is going to drop and send them any graphics and links so that they have things that they can share, and then tag them on social media when you share about it. Also, don't forget to just thank them for being on and giving you their time. Some final thoughts for you about having guests on your show is that you are the boss of your own show. You're the host. You're the producer. Do not burn trust with your audience by accepting any and all guests. It is not impolite to say, no thanks, this is not a fit right now. You need to protect your audience and make sure that the people you're bringing on, you really are on board with them and their message. Use guests to fill in gaps or content that you're not planning to speak on your own. And then another thing to think about is making sure that if you want to be positioned as the expert and not seen as just someone who is good at interviewing people, that you're having more than half of your episodes, if not 2/3 of your episodes, being solo episodes. If you end up having way more of your episodes being guest episodes, which during a season I was really in that space, what can happen though is you can find your audience thinking about you as, oh, she's really good or he's really good at interviewing people. We want them to think about you when they think about the topic that you coach people at or that you service people with. So I want people to think about me when they are thinking about, I need my podcast edited. I need help launching a podcast. I want to land guest roles on podcasts and all things podcasting, start to finish. I want people to think of me. That's part of you being the host and you making sure that you have guests on to fill those gaps, but also that you don't have so many on that you get lost and you turn into just an interviewer. I hope that helps you feel confident in having a guest on your show. If you feel like you have a really unique entrepreneurial story and that you would add value to my solopreneur audience, my Better Brave audience, you can apply to be on my show, to be a guest on my show with the link in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready for podcast mentoring, whether it's setup, editing, planning, or guesting, you can book a one-on-one call with me through the link in the show notes. I hope you feel seen, inspired, and like your dreams and goals are completely valid, because they are. See you next Tuesday.